It's weird to think that 4 years has passed since Animal Crossing New Horizons released on the Nintendo Switch. When it hit the scene, it truly took the world by storm. You know it was popular when it became the second best-selling Switch game of all time, selling over 44 million copies, a spot it still holds at the time of this recording. People loved chatting with animals, crafting furniture, and customizing their island to their heart's content. And I was right there with them too. I loved Animal Crossing, even back all the way in the GameCube days. Few people were more excited than me when Animal Crossing finally had a debut on the Nintendo Switch. It quickly became one of my favorite comfort games on the Switch. So why, after all these years, I can't touch the game anymore? Like I said, this was one of my favorite games on the Switch. Don't believe me? Look at my playtime! It is a great game. The cute, cozy vibes have a lot going on, and it's genuinely wonderful. Yet, I still can't capture that magic I felt when I played it for the first time so many years ago. I mean, I used to spend hours upon hours on my island, and now I can barely stomach a half hour before the inevitable feeling of boredom sets in. Apparently, I'm not the only one who feels this way either. Many people I know who were glued to their screens, putting in as much if not more time than I was, can't seem to enjoy the game like they used to. Is it because I've seen all the game has to offer? When I boot up the older titles like Wild World, New Leaf, or even Animal Crossing on the GameCube, I somehow get sucked right back into the routine as if I've never left them. So why can't New Horizons keep me as invested as these older titles? Finally, after years of thinking about it, I figured out why I can't really enjoy this game anymore. Why even the act of recording footage for this video was something I could barely muster. What made New Horizons become an old skyline? Let's find out. Number 1. Burnout. Animal Crossing New Horizons released in March 2020. For many, it was seen as a much-needed escape from the very real and scary circumstances of going outside during an emerging pandemic. This is not the game's fault in the slightest. During the panic of it all, Animal Crossing New Horizons was a nice way for us to have a routine and add a sense of normalcy in our lives. The domestic gameplay of talking to virtual animals, crafting furniture items, fishing, and catching bugs was a nice distraction as the world was seemingly crumbling around us. I know that while I was going through it, Animal Crossing was a comfort game for me. I played it for hours, streamed it as much as I could. The game was my life in every way, shape, and form during that time. And I wasn't alone. In a really dark time for a lot of people's lives, Animal Crossing New Horizons was the game we really needed. And it came out at the perfect time. It was a fantastic way to connect with people virtually and be part of large communities without needing to leave your house. That being said, the Burnout was exceptional. I know I spent every day, hours upon hours of Animal Crossing. We're talking a minimum of 2 hours every day for months. That's a lot of time to play any game. I don't care what game it is, you are eventually going to feel burnt out by that game. Especially with a game like Animal Crossing, where at the end of the day, you run out of things to do. Its basic design is that you do a little each and every day, slowly developing a routine of things to do. Whether you play it in the morning, late at night before bed, in the bathroom after dinner, it's your life, do what you want. But we were playing this for hours straight, trying to suck the game dry like a bendy straw in an already finished Chuck E. Cheese drink. But in the end, there's only so much you can do before you get bored. And for me especially, because I felt like I had to stream Animal Crossing all the time, oh, my burnout got bad. I had largely become known as an Animal Crossing streamer and content creator for a while, and I felt like I had to keep going with it. I love the series dearly, but it got to the point where I couldn't even last a half hour without feeling bored or frustrated. Again, it's not the game's fault. It's my fault for playing it so much and just genuinely unfortunate timing of being locked in all year long. While my self-inflicted burnout is my fault, Animal Crossing still isn't perfect. Here's a couple of other problems that come with the best-selling title. Number 2, a lack of updates. Nintendo has a habit of releasing incomplete games. I don't mean games that aren't functional or don't have a distinct beginning, middle, and end, but games that obviously have more content waiting to come out, usually in the form of free content over time. This works great for certain titles like the Splatoon series. Unfortunately, many of these incomplete titles are left to die without ever seeing the full potential realized. I'm looking at you, Switch Sports, and every Mario Sports game on the Switch. Animal Crossing decided to take the free update route, and honestly, this makes a lot of sense. It's the perfect title for giving out free updates or DLC to entice new players to try it out, or draw back in players who have since put it down. This approach would fit so well with this cozy series. New Horizons took a different approach though. When New Horizons launched, it had the usual things to unlock on the island. There was Nook's Cranny, the town hall, the museum, the works. But at launch, there was a lot of items, places, and even characters still missing. For example, there was no Roost at first. This was a huge request for longtime fans of the series that you'd think would be available at launch. Certain mainstay characters were missing as well, like Cap'n, Pelly, and Pete. There were no gyroids. It left the game feeling slightly off, like coming home from a long trip and finding out your best friends had moved out of town while you were away. Surely these things would be coming in a future update soon, right? Well, not quite. While there were updates, they mainly consisted of holiday events. Scenarios treated more like a limited time adventure, which is fine. You get exclusive furniture and clothing. It works. Fun times were had by all. Mostly. Bunny Day. Eggs. In the trees. Eggs in the ocean. Make the eggs stop. Bunny Day aside, a lot of holidays were really cool. Like the June wedding season where the alpacas, Reese and Cyrus, not only came back from New Leaf, but you could take wedding photos for them. A very cute idea. I even took wedding photos of my own for my villagers. There's also Halloween with Jack, the Harvest Festival with Franklin, a Toy Day with Jingle, all great things that were added as the months went on. But it's almost weird to call them updates, as this is stuff that's been in the base game of other titles for years. I understand maybe wanting to update the game slowly over time to avoid crunch and such, but it didn't feel like anything new. It felt like we got a part of what should have been in the regular games. Other than holidays, we didn't really get any updates. Well, not until nearly a year later in 2021, where we got our first free update and the paid DLC, Happy Home Paradise, where you can design vacation homes for your villagers with Lottie and friends. At first, I was hyped as heck for this new content. It was right in the middle of my burnout, and seeing all the new stuff revved up those fryers again real quick. Kappa's Islands returned, we were able to visit special shopkeepers whenever we wanted at Harv's Island, and of course, the return of my coffee-making pigeon boy, Brewster. Welcome home. Put all the pigeon milk you want in my brew. I don't care how gross that sounds. With Happy Home Paradise, you were able to design vacation homes for random villagers, all with new themes, furniture items, clothing, and new characters. It was all very cute and customizable. I did have a lot of fun. We even got to see the return of Lottie from Happy Home Designer on the 3DS. And here I was beginning to think we'd never see her again. Hey, this all sounds great, Random. So what happened? Well, I played the DLC and it certainly contributed to my enjoyment of the game. I continued my routine and I decorated a bunch of houses. And then something happened. It got boring. The cuteness of it all just became routine. And before I knew it, I'd find myself getting settled into it all, then wanting to move on to something else. That's the nature of it all, I suppose. There's so many games coming out, you want to move on to the next. But I played New Leaf for months, GameCube for years. Why couldn't New Horizons really keep me hooked? Well, maybe because the previous games had some new experiences. Things that I've never experienced in Animal Crossing before. The updates and even the paid DLC were stuff I'd seen before. A lot of the island stuff from the base game was new, but the Roost was a series staple. Cap'n was around and singing in New Leaf. Even Happy Home Paradise was a successor of the spin-off Happy Home Designer on the 3DS. Not a single one of New Horizons' gaming activities was completely original this time, and it got to me a bit. There was some cool things like being able to eventually decorate the inside of your own islanders' homes. That's never been done before in the series, but at the same time, that's it. Everything else has been borrowed from a previous entry. Sure, it's new to the Switch, and it makes sense to bring it onto Nintendo's most profitable console, but for a company that is known for innovating and trying new things, it seems New Horizons is anything but new, and just sticks with what worked in the past. This can be completely subjective. A lot of people like these features coming back. I know I freaked out when Brewster came back. But again, it's repetitive and all of it can get very old after a few weeks of playing. But hey, that was their first update, right? I'm sure they will have plenty more. That was their final update, wasn't it? Happy Home Paradise was their only update. After that, they moved on from the game and went to work on Splatoon 3. And that's when New Horizons was left to die. It's very frustrating, as this game promised constant updates, and all we got in the end was holidays and one big content update. They could have gone for so much more. Sadly, it's disappointing. But look on the bright side, this game is fully intact, right? And it's still a full game to play in 2024. It's not like anything hasn't aged well to make the gameplay tedious. Number 3. Tedious mechanics. New Horizons has so much great things going for it, but from its launch, there have been little things that make the game annoying to go through. A lot of it is going through the motions. And I don't mean the slow and steady progress of people visiting your island each day and paying off the Tanuki every hard-earned bell I ever earned. Not that at all. That stuff is still great. And if you really don't like it, you can get a DeLorean and time travel a day or two. No, these are the little things. Sequences in the UI that should be done with one button push, but instead are done with 2 or 3 or more. Let's start with the crafting mechanic. This was a big selling point for New Horizons. It was one of the majorly advertised highlights that was supposed to make New Horizons stand out from its predecessors. And it is great if you want to craft one item. One item at a time. Yes, crafting multiple items is a no-go in this game. If you want multiples of the same item, for whatever the reason that may be, there is no toggle, there is no counter, no nothing where you can make more than one item at a time. You have to individually craft every single item. Select the item, make sure you have enough material, hit craft, go through that godforsaken crafting animation, which you cannot skip. You can only hit the button to make it slightly go faster. Finish crafting, hold the crafted item like you're in The Legend of Zelda, and do it all over again for every time you want to frickin' put something together. Why, Nintendo? Why? This is so tedious. It takes forever, especially for items like bait or medicine, where you want to make quite a few to go fishing or cure your villagers. But instead of just, I don't know, batch crafting a bunch and calling it a day, you spend 5 minutes of wasted gameplay time behind a stump putting it all together. I don't understand. Imagine if in Minecraft, instead of building cobblestone and just making as many as you possibly can with holding down a button, you had to go to the crafting table and make one cobblestone block at a time, all while waiting for a 10-second animation of Steve, I don't know, eating a sandwich, each and every time. It would get old, wouldn't it, Steve? How many sandwiches are you going to eat, Steve? Is this something that's hard to do? Is it hard to just implement batch crafting and make it so you can create multiples of the same item at a time? I would have thought it would have been added in a future update, but nope, no more new updates now. This is especially tedious with your tools, like the watering can, fishing rod, bug net, shovel, etc. Since this is the first Animal Crossing game where you can craft your own tools, this is also the first game where they can break. I blame you, Breath of the Wild. So every time a tool breaks, you gotta craft it not just once, but twice. One for the crappy twig version of the tool, and one for the upgraded version. Just let us do it in one go, please. But hey, at least we get golden tools like we did in the past games. They're worth a lot, and they seem hard to get and unlock. I'm sure they don't break. Who hurt you, Nintendo? I get it. It makes sense that they want us to craft our tools more often for the crafting mechanics. But they could at least give us a warning of when our stuff breaks. It just happens at random, completely breaking the flow of the game, just because I have to get another fishing rod. And we do some pretty major things to get the gold tool recipes. They should be impenetrable. Gold is not an easy resource to get in this game.
I love gold!
And sadly, crafting isn't the only UI thing that stinks. In order to craft, you get craft recipes, and you usually get them from your villagers. They love to share their recipes. It's one of the main reasons you'll want them in your game. But how it usually works is you'll see a villager crafting and you talk to them. If they have a recipe you don't have, you can either learn the recipe from them or reject it. That makes sense enough, but if you already have the recipe they have, you don't have a choice and you have to take it anyway, even though you don't need it. What? Why did they insist they give you a recipe even though you already have it? Yeah, the idea was to probably give it to a friend who doesn't have it, and I did, but the fact you can reject a recipe you don't own, but you have to take the recipe you already have is so lost on me. Like, listen, cat, I don't need another wood table mirror recipe. Give me the iron kitchenette. Apparently that's the rare one. And on top of the dumb UI things in Animal Crossing New Horizons, we have to turn to an infamous airport employee, Orville. You would think the act of leaving the island wouldn't take too long, right? Of course it does! First, Orville asks what you want to do. Let's say visit a friend and leave the island. It then asks if it's local or online. Then to confirm it. Then asks if it's friends you want to meet or put in a code. And then to confirm again if it's who you want to visit. All while this dodo is typing on his computer God knows how because he doesn't even have any hands. What are all these convoluted steps? There has to be an easier way to visit your friends. There are so many steps that you just mindlessly press the A button, and God forbid you hit the wrong option and have to start all over again. I truly don't understand. I mean, Splatoon 2 and 3 make playing with people feel effortless, but this? Orville just wastes your time, and there's no need for it. All these issues could be fixed in a small quality of life update. Just something so you make it so you press a few less buttons, or just raise the convenience in any way, shape, and form. But as Nintendo said, no more new update! We're stuck with Orville interrogating us no matter what. I swear I like this game, guys. These things are just annoying. Number 4, villagers are dolls. Let me take you back to when Animal Crossing was a lot more pixelated and on a cube. Back around the 2000s, I played Animal Crossing on GameCube for the first time, and the first villager I ever met was Wolfgang, a canine named after the famous composer himself, Beethoven. I saw him, adored him immediately, and did everything I could to be his friend. And he hated my guts. It made sense because he was a cranky villager, and I was just an annoying human kid. No one wanted to have me as their next door neighbor. But he was the Squidward to my SpongeBob, and I made it my mission for him to be my friend. I did favors for him, sent him letters, I talked to him literally every day until he got mad at me for annoying him. He yelled at me, he insulted me, he wanted nothing to do with me, but I was determined. And day after day after day playing the game, he started to warm up to this annoying kid. Whether it was the magic of friendship or gaming programming, he started being nicer to me, and our friendship was born. I know it was probably all code, but to a young kid in the 2000s, it felt like our friendship grew over time. It was rewarding. So much so, he became my favorite villager, as I had him in my town in both GameCube and New Leaf. And I own his amiibo card. Still have it to this day. I added him to New Horizons, and got a whole cast of new villagers to go with him. I tried talking to them, and they are all the same. Wolfgang, what have they done to you? The personality of the villagers in New Horizons all feel bland and boring in comparison. They either say the same things, like if a character is in your island, they won't shut up about it, or they keep repeating the same things they are into. Lazy villagers are into food, peppy villagers want to be pop stars, smug villagers are into themselves. It just feels boring. I'm not making a friend, I'm talking to a virtual character in a game. And while that's always been the case, their individual charm and personality from the previous games are missing. In Animal Crossing GameCube, you got such a variety of dialogue. and villagers wouldn't always enjoy your company. Some would even get mad at you or even flat out insult you. Damn, Barbara, nice to see you too. Wild World had a good balance with villagers being friendly, but also having some of the strangest dialogue. It was funny, friendly, and unpredictable, and what I looked forward to truly the most when playing the game. I didn't play City Folk much, but New Leaf was the start of the villagers being more generic. With the repeating dialogue, everyone being happy, sunshine and rainbows, you get the idea. But New Leaf still had them say interesting things, and I still got attached to them. New Horizons? They feel like dolls. I've literally caught villagers of the same type say the exact same thing to me that same day. They will have some variety, sure, but again, it all just feels wooden. Like they are characters in a theme park with no soul, smiling constantly that they are happy to see you, but there's nothing under them. They probably get a cigarette break in an underground basement when I'm not looking. And forget about them getting angry at you. These guys have no backbone. I miss when my villagers would yell at me and call me names and humiliate me. That sounds weird now that I'm saying it out loud. It's funny, because villager hunting was a huge thing for New Horizons, where people would stream going from island to island, using Nook Mile tickets to see what random cute villagers they could add to their island. People spent actual real-life money to get some of these villagers. And don't even get me started on Raymond. But the villagers I once enjoyed are now just decorations, purely there to look cute and have in the background as you play. You may watch them do some fun exercises or sing in the plaza, but that's it. Could someone yell at me, please? Number 5. Dishonorable Mentions. So before I get to the last big reason of why I can't enjoy New Horizons anymore, I want to talk about some other little things that bug me throughout the game. Little stuff that doesn't fit into one category. Consider these dishonorable mentions. Why is the music in New Horizons bland? Animal Crossing as a whole has some great atmospheric music and memorable tunes, yet the music in New Horizons feels like elevator music by comparison. It feels like I'm just sitting at a lobby waiting for the doctor's office. Nothing memorable or special. Why can you not skip Isabel's announcements at the beginning when you play? I understand if something cool is happening, but 90% of the time it's the same old stuff with the reminders of the weather and whose birthday it is. We should be able to ignore it if we want to, no matter how adorable she is doing it. Why is it so hard to complete the art exhibit at the museum? You're supposed to get paintings from Red, and he can supply you with either a real or a fake one. But I swear to God, the rate at which he gets them is so slow and so repetitive, it'll take you another 4 years to complete it. Most people use websites like Nookazon to trade the art with other players, and it's the best and quickest way to do it as of now, and I despise that. Why can you only have one island per Switch console? In the past, it was one town per memory card, or cartridge. But now, if I want to have multiple islands in-game, I need to buy a whole new Switch to make it happen? It's highway robbery for another save slot. Are you insane, Nintendo? Do you think people would really do that? Yeah, honestly, people did do that. I thought about doing it too, especially with that Animal Crossing themed Switch. You did it on purpose, didn't you, Nintendo? Why do flowers grow everywhere? Seriously, they spread more than weeds, and at least I can sell the weeds for a profit. And the last dishonorable mention, where are so many of the special characters from the previous games? We are missing Pelly, Phyllis, and Pete, who worked at the post office, Copper and Booker, the cop dogs, Dr. Shrunk, the terrible comedian and manager of Club LOL, Wendell, the starving artist walrus who would give you the wallpapers, Lyle the otter who would try to scam you with insurance, Gracie the fashion designer, Blanca the cat with no face who pulled pranks on you and you could draw on their face. Actually, that one was a weird one. I don't want to know where they went. Or do I? So many iconic and memorable characters that just aren't in the main game. Some missing even after the update. I understand you can't have everyone, but it's sad to see a lot of these characters featured in the past games not featured in New Horizons. I miss them, man. Where did you go, Dr. Shrunk? Where did you go? Number 6. Customization over simulation. Out of all the reasons I can't play New Horizons, this is the one that's gonna get me in some hot water. When I first played Animal Crossing, it felt like the goal was to just live life with your neighbors and slowly get to know everyone and get used to life. That makes sense. The game was inspired when the creator moved to a new town to start a new life. So that essentially was the goal of the previous Animal Crossing games. Get to know your neighbors, relax with some quiet, mundane tasks, live with the cards you were dealt with, and make the best of it. Pay off your loan, donate to the museum, maybe even get to know the lore of characters like Tom, Nook, and Sable. That was an amazing thing in Wild World personally. And I like how every special character has grown in all these games they are in. The point of the previous Animal Crossing games was to live a quiet life and relax with some cute animal villagers. New Horizons is different as it seems to have a different type of focus. Customization. It seems like the atmospheric, mysterious vibes of getting stuck in a town and learning to live with the community around you has been replaced with complete customization and control of your island. Don't like your island? You can customize the terrain from the ground up if you want. The land is yours to morph under your fingertips. It's not bad, and it makes sense. If any franchise is going to imitate The Sims with customization, it's Animal Crossing. It's just not why I fell in love with the series. Sure, customization was in previous games, but it was limited. Other than the name, you had little say in your town layout, no say in who your neighbors are, and even if you liked them, they could move away just like in real life. A lot of stuff was out of your control, the only exception being your house, where you could decorate it with furniture you bought or was given to you. By the time we get to New Horizons, however, there are no limitations. Furniture can be put outside as landmarks and be any colored you like. You can pick what villagers to go on your island, and if they want to leave, you can just be like, haha, no, you're staying here, bye. You can even change the Earth itself with terraforming, allowing the customization to truly feel limitless. Again, none of this is bad. This is all really cool. And I imagine the designing types love every second of this game, as they should. I even had a decent time designing my island. But this isn't what drew me to love Animal Crossing in the first place. I fell in love with Animal Crossing to get immersed in the animal world with my neighbors, to learn little secrets about the shopkeepers and characters, to feel part of a community and get lost in the Animal Crossing world. This just isn't New Horizons. It makes sense franchises evolve over the years, and some things like customization getting top priority, as it will help the game grow in sales and appeal to more people. Like I said, 44 million copies. While I enjoy a lot of these changes, when I finished with the game, it doesn't leave me wanting to come back. I still want to have customizable stuff in this game, but I wish there was more of a balance and feature more of the world building and personality of the villagers and special characters. Not to say it doesn't have things like hidden lore. The Roost has it where you can use amiibo cards to bring certain characters to the Roost. And these characters include old favorites like Copper and Booker, Nat, Rossetti and Don, and so much more. We even learned some hidden lore between Nat and his son Flick, the new bug-catching Tumblr Boy character in New Horizons, and how they have some tension in their family. That's some really cool and subtle lore and world building I love in this series. But you can only access it with cards you have to buy through a paywall. Nintendo, please. Once you experience everything in the game, the main game afterwards is just how much you want to design your island, which is fun and replayable for the right person. But for me, it wasn't enough. If they added a bit more me to it, I probably would go back to it. But sadly, no, it's just not my thing anymore. At the end of the day, Animal Crossing was about integrating into a world where you did your best to fit in. When New Horizons gave me near complete control of my environment, it went from a game where I was interacting with my best digital friends and villagers to just playing by myself. I think that is the biggest problem with New Horizons, even with multiplayer. This video came out a lot more ranty than I wanted it to. I promise, I still enjoy this game. And honestly, replaying the game to get some footage wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Still, the game has a lot of issues, and while it sucked a lot of hours out of me, I just can't go back to it anymore. These reasons are why I can't and honestly don't want to put the time to invest into more of this game. It's still a great game, but nothing about it will change now that Nintendo has moved on. And so I've concluded my chapter with Animal Crossing New Horizons, with the exception of occasionally playing it with friends. It's cool to hang out with friends and visit each other's islands. I genuinely hope that for the next game, a lot of these problems are fixed, and the newest installment has a good balance of creativity and world building and relaxation. Thank you for listening to a fan of the series rant, and if you agree with any of the things I've said, or disagree and still play this game, please let me know in the comments how. I genuinely want to know your thoughts about this. Until then, I'm done with Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I can't wait to see what else is new for the future of this series. Are the Animal Crossing fans mad at me? Maybe they can yell at me since villagers in this game can't! Ah, just like old times. Ooh, this one was a bit therapeutic, huh? I swear, I love Animal Crossing, I do, just... Ooh. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you like what you saw, hit the like button, and be sure to check out my other videos too. Special thanks to these amazing people for helping me with the video. I couldn't have done it without all of you. Also, an extra special thanks to my Patreon patrons, including Mantelferox and Savacom. You help make every video possible, and you all mean so much to me. If you'd like to join our Patreon, the link is in the description below, along with my Twitch and Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good night!